let me ask about the Feelies then. How did you come across the Feelies as a student? Was it just like, I don't know who these people are, you're just young, like I will ask Richard Hell to be in my movie. I will get the Feelies, this is what you were experiencing. How did this
Yeah.
happen?
Well, there was definitely some element of like, especially I felt it living in, the Lower East Side, that there was a kind of that people in various art forms, whether it was music or filmmaking or graffiti art or whatever it is, there was a lot of cross collateral pollinating. And I think I had heard about Richard Hell, and I'd been to see it, and I thought he had a great persona, and I thought if I can capture that in my film, that would make for a really interesting leading male character. Um, and, and then once you get to know somebody, he said, "Do you want to use some of my music?" And of course I said yes. But actually, the Feelies were introduced to me by the film director, Jonathan Demme, who was really wonderful and a great guy who helped out a lot of filmmakers when they were starting out, and he was a great music lover. And
Was he at NYU? Was he a professor there, or was he a
no,
student? Or
no,
what? No, how'd you get a hold of
he was a
Jonathan?
New York film, because back then still so much of the industry was based in, well, in the 70s. I mean, in LA still. But suddenly there were a couple of directors like Scorsese, Jonathan Demme, and Woody Allen who were working out of New York. And Jonathan Demme, sort of a friend of mine named Ron Neisweiner, who actually co-wrote Smithereens with me, had sent Jonathan Demme a script. Jonathan liked it. They met. Ron Neisweiner introduced me to Demme. And as I said, he always was very helpful to up and coming filmmakers. And so first he gave me a list of some people who he thought might be interesting. He watched the film with me and then suggested some people. And the first one actually was John Cale from the Velvet Underground. We met, and it was kind of a funky time in Cale's life, I think. And I knew it
Okay,
wasn't going to
okay,
be
we
a
know
real.
what you mean by funky. I understand.
We all have those funky times,
Oh,
right?
sure, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
And I just, he was interesting, but I just thought this was not going to be a good working relationship. And then he suggested the Feelies, and I guess their manager sent me a demo for their first album. I don't even know if it had come out yet. And I listened to their music, and it had such a great um energetic but also kind of nervous pulse to it, that it just felt like the musical version of the character of Ren. And usually when you work on a movie, and certainly on my later movies, you edit the movie first, then you bring in a composer and a music supervisor to then help you put in the score, or the songs. But in this case, when I heard their music, I actually recut the film to fit their pre-existing music rather than the other way around.
That's amazing. Wow. So, like a happy accident. I have to ask you about this other happy accident. I mean, it wasn't a happy accident. The original Richard Hell was not the original actor. You had a different
No.
plan. I was just
Yeah.
I just heard about this. Can you tell the story of how uh, Richard Hell kind of came into the
Yeah,
picture?
yeah. Well, originally, there was another actor. Actually, it was I think he was French or Swiss. He had a French accent. Uh, who was cast to play the role that Richard Hell then plays, and he was more of an artist. Because at the time, the art scene was really exciting too. He wasn't a rocker; he was an artist, a painter. And I started filming with him, and we were on the fifth day of filming, and we were doing a rehearsal in the loft that was supposed to be his loft in the film. And he and the main character Ren have an argument, and he lifts Ren up and puts her out in his fire escape and shuts the window because, yeah, to get her out of his
Yeah.
loft. um, Susan Berman, the actress who plays Ren, saw there was an open window at the other end of the fire escape and ran across the fire escape to climb back in. Didn't realize that the fire escape ended and just fell off the fire escape. I was inside watching this rehearsal. I was doing a rehearsal, watching, and it was like a Roadrunner cartoon. I saw her running along and then just dropping off the edge of a cliff. I didn't know how far she had dropped, or, it was kind of horrifying in a surreal way. Fortunately, she landed on the fire escape 20 feet below, and broke her leg pretty bad in a couple of places, and but survived. And she was in a cast for the next 4 months. And during that time, what was great, um, well, actually, what could have been a disaster that I turned into something great was that I had a chance to edit the scenes that we had shot, see what was working, see what wasn't working, realize that the character of Ren probably would be more attractive to a rock and roll guy, not a painter. And so recast that role with Richard Hell, and very happy that I did.
Oh, it's so interesting. And if not
Right.
for the accident or the unhappy accident, you might never
But
have.
but to
Yeah,
have
Yeah.
but budget wise, I mean, just to think like, all right, all these 5 days of filming, it's just we're
yeah.
just throwing that away. I mean, that must have been painful for a film
Yeah,
student.
because the film was done on such a low budget, it was
Right.
a little painful. But what I saw was that the scenes where Susan Berman was acting alone were great, and there just wasn't the other actor who played the original actor was good. There just wasn't chemistry between them. So I think if Susan had not had that accident, I really don't think the film would have had the success it then went on to have. Um, but of
So
course, I didn't
yeah.
know any of that at the